Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and after what felt like a torturous 55 minutes of the worst direct ever, finally ended on a good note with the reveal of a brand new Fire Emblem game. Fortune's Weave? A mouthful of a title, to be sure, but not something I expected. It turns out the FE4 remake was a lie, as was the rumors about the Three Houses Deluxe Edition. Instead, what we appear to be getting is a prequel/sequel to Three Houses. I don't know how far in the future or past we're going, but this is definitely Fodlan. My guess is that we're going to be in Elmira, or at least where Elmira is located in the future/past. There is also a possibility that this could be taking place in the distant land of Dagda, where Petra is from. That place is described as a land of warriors, kind of similar to Ragna Ferox, and we do open up with a massive arena, so this is very feasible. Now, this game definitely is going to have some time travel shenanigans, and the reason I say that is that the main characters, the boy and the girl, the boy is named Kai, I don't know if the girl's name was revealed, they look to be significantly more modern than the rest of the cast. And we also see a freaking gun in the trailer, and not a musket or a blunderbuss, just a gun, a modern gun. So they appear to be doing some kind of technology versus magic theme in this Fire Emblem, and you know what? I'm here for it. I've wanted guns in Fire Emblem for a long time. I'm very excited to see how it's going to be done. I know a lot of people don't like it. They think it's too modern. They think it doesn't fit with the series, but I actually disagree. I think guns in Fire Emblem can actually work really well if they implement it properly. Now, there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everything in this video. I'm going to miss a ton of details. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my first impressions in this video, and then I'll make a much more in-depth analytical video once I've had some more time to study the footage. But I noticed a few things about this game, and I really want to talk about them. So I want to start off by just talking about the art style. It's probably the one thing that worries me a little bit. It has elements of Engage in it. Not to an extent where I think it's going to bother a lot of people, but when I look at these characters, I see shades of somewhat questionable character design. That being said, they're also really cool looking characters. I really love Dietrich, if that's how you pronounce that name, I'm not really sure. The Alucard looking guy, blonde Shadow Lord essentially. He reminds me a lot of Jaritza from Three Houses, and I think it's very likely that he's probably related to Mercedes and Jaritza somehow. In fact, we literally see the crest of Lamine on Dietrich's sword, so I think this is all but confirmed. He's a Myrmidon, he has the ability to teleport, he seems to have like some special vampire superpowers. I really dig it. I also like the dancer, she's very pretty, she reminds me a lot of Petra, I would not be surprised if she has some relations to her. It appears that we're going to see the return of special dances. We have a bunch of them right here. And one of the tooltips of the dances read that she can actually summon a demonic beast, so they are coming back as well. Another thing I noticed is that durability is back. No more unbreakable weapons, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to manage our gear again. We also see the return of the dismount feature, which is very interesting, as well as combat arts and something new called Blaze Arts. Now, combat arts just seem to be ripped straight from Three Houses. We expend more durability to perform special attacks, but Blaze Arts seems to be something brand new. And we actually see Blaze Arts being used twice in this trailer. The dances that the new character Lida can pull off, for example, are Blaze Arts. And then we see the Myrmidon Dietrich using a Blaze Art called Moving Shadow, which allows him to teleport to a target and attack it. So my guess is that combat arts are going to remain what they are, there's going to be modified attacks, whereas Blaze Arts is going to be everything related to utility, and personally, I am super excited for it. We also see that they cost HP, so that is something that they're taking out of the playbook of Echoes. It very much looks like combat arts will require durability, and Blaze Arts will require HP. I also noticed that when Dietrich uses his Moving Shadow, he gets something called Blaze +1. I've seen that a gauge is mentioned at several parts during the trailer, which leads me to believe that there's also going to be some kind of gauge mechanic in this game. I have no idea what it's going to be, but it looks like Blaze Arts is going to interact with it somehow. Also, chariots! This is the first time we see them in Fire Emblem. I wonder how they're going to be working as units. They should definitely have some kind of Kanto mechanic, I think. I wonder if we'll get playable chariot users. We also have the return of Gambits and what I believe to be Battalions, so it looks like that's another mechanic they're just gonna borrow from Three Houses. Personally, I was not a big fan of Battalions from Three Houses. It just felt like another tedious micromanaging thing that I just had to do on top of everything else, and it didn't really feel that meaningful. So I hope that they're just not going to rip Battalions from Treehouses and put them into the game. I hope they're going to make them a little bit more interactive this time. I also noticed another mechanic returning. If you take a look at the little symbol beneath the avoid data of the terrain, there is a small image of rain clouds, and we can see that it is raining in this map. So it looks like weather effects will actually be making their return to Fire Emblem. Now, I hope that it won't just reduce characters' movement like it did in the GBA games. I hope that weather is a lot more interactive and actually affects things like maybe bows get a little weaker in the rain because of the wood, or maybe it'll increase the accuracy of like thunder magic. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with weather in Fire Emblem aside from just slowing down units, and I'm excited to see if this game is going to give it a spin. There is also something else I noticed that makes me very hopeful about this game. At no point during the trailer did we see any indication of an avatar. The boy Kai appears to be the main character of the game, and this girl next to him is probably going to be either a second main character or his sidekick, but with how much more attention Kai got, I think we can definitely assume he's going to be the main character. And you know what? He doesn't look like an avatar to me. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I am super excited at the prospects of getting to play a modern Fire Emblem without an avatar. I think it's going to be such a net positive for the game. I've had the opinion for years that avatars detract from modern Fire Emblem and makes it a worse game overall. I don't think they've done a good avatar since Robin in Awakening, and whether or not Kai ends up being a likable character or not, we'll see, but at the very least, he doesn't strike me as an avatar, and that is a big plus in my book. And of course, we gotta talk about adult Sothis. They're going down this route again, where a child dragon from a past game grows up to become an adult dragon. In this game, they did it with Tiki in Awakening, and I gotta say, all things considered, I am surprised by their restraint. They have a tendency to really loot up dragon characters, and Sothis actually looks to be pretty modestly dressed. Now, this can either be past or future Sothis, because as we know, Sothis was a character who was killed and then later kind of put into Violet's head, if you will. So this could either be Sothis before she died or Sothis after she has grown up. It's kind of hard to say. Either way, I do hope that Sothis is going to be a little bit more relevant to the story this time around. She seemed to be this incredibly important character that was going to be super relevant to the plot, and in many ways she is relevant, but once she kind of fuses with Byleth, she kind of stops existing, and it's kind of weird. I remember thinking to myself that you could probably remove Sothis entirely from Treehouses and it wouldn't really change much, so I hope that they rectify this and give her a bigger role in this game. Alright, so now I just want to talk about a few smaller details that some of my friends have pointed out to me. First thing I want to talk about is the layout of this city right here. You have aqueducts here, which makes me think of the Roman Empire. Considering we saw chariots, it definitely seems like that's the inspiration they're pulling from, and that makes me very happy. I've always wanted a Roman Empire Fire Emblem. This guy right here definitely seems like a divine dragon. Look at his ears. He's also dressed incredibly similar to Duma from Echoes. In the weapons description, there is something called a curse. Does this mean the return of devil weapons? Also, avoid seems to be really low at 14%. Maybe we're going back to 1 avoid per speed? When we watch Kai's stats, we can see that he has 2 skills active. One appears to be Lance Proficiency, and this appears to be the crest that Yuri comes with. Among the Blaze Arts available to Dietrich, there is something called Umbra Calamity that is grayed out, indicating that it can't be used yet. This is probably related to the gauge mechanic. You probably need to build it up to a certain point before you can use the Blaze Art. In fact, this is pretty much confirmed in this screenshot right here that shows a requirement. We can also see that Dietrich has a lot of skills active. Sword Proficiency appears to be one of them, and maybe Crit +5. Kai appears to be able to summon some kind of crest from his hands. This shot appears to be of some kind of throne similar to Sothis, and the character standing at the bottom of the steps does not show up anywhere else in the trailer. This masked character has the crest of Noah on her necklace. That is the crest Constance has. Also, we got to see a few portraits of some playable characters. Not much to say here, some of these actually look pretty cool. This guy or gal looks to be the ancestor of Linhardt. Heroes Relics will be making a return. This one, called Answer, is wielded by Dietrich, and it appears to be somewhat similar to the Blutgang. Also, it's kind of hard to see from this screenshot, but I think I spot my future waifu. I just have a good feeling about this one. Alright, so it's time to deliver my closing thoughts on this trailer. There's probably a bunch more details that I missed, but I'll mention them in the next video, which I'm sure I'll make soon. I will say this, after watching this trailer several times, I am pretty damn excited for this game. There are aspects of it that worry me a little bit, particularly the character designs, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm sold on the graphics and the UI design, but I do know this. I am looking forward to a Fire Emblem game that takes itself a little more seriously. Say what you want about Tree Houses, the story and writing is far from perfect, but I feel like they at least made an effort to do some world building in that game, and I'm hoping that that will transfer over to this game. I am very grateful that they're actually going back to an older, already established world and building upon it. I think this is something Fire Emblem should do more often. I think it's a waste to keep making new worlds when you can build on an already existing one that people are already familiar with, and this is a great way to enrich the history of Fodlan by adding more context to it, so I am super excited for that. I am not super sold on Kai as a main character. He looks a little bit too goofy for my liking. He seems like you took a Pokemon character and just inserted him into a Fire Emblem universe, which is a little jarring to be sure, but we'll see how he pans out. Already in this trailer, there's a line about him talking about wanting to protect his dad, so I think we all know what's going to happen to him. Look, I'm not expecting a masterpiece here. I just want a game that at least makes an effort to have good writing, and Tree Houses did that, so I'm confident that they'll try to do it again here. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was super nervous about this upcoming Fire Emblem game. I really do feel like Fire Emblem is at a crossroads where it really needs to rediscover its identity quick to bring back the fans that they lost during Engage, and I think this trailer will actually do that. There is a little bit too much of the old Engage style left in this for my liking. I really wish they would have gone much darker and in a way different direction, but I will take my W's where I can get them, and there are a lot of them in this trailer. More than anything, I'm super excited to try out the new gameplay mechanics. Blaze Arts looks to be fantastic, and if there's one thing I trust the developers of Fire Emblem to do, it is to improve and learn from past systems. You guys remember how broken Parrot was in Awakening and how much they improved upon it in Fates? I'm hoping that they'll take what worked in Tree Houses and Engage and transfer it over to this game and create something truly astounding. I want a game that I can sink 300 plus hours into. I hope they have multiple routes and tons of replayability. Overall, I am pretty damn optimistic about the future of this game, and I'm super excited to see more news drop soon. They didn't announce a direct release date, they just said sometime in 2026. I think it's likely that they're gonna drop it around May or April. They could pull an Engage and drop it in January, but I don't think that's very likely, but who knows? We won't know for sure until they give us more news. One thing is for sure, guys, there's going to be a lot more news dropping about this game. I'm expecting trailers, character previews, and a bunch of other stuff, so stay tuned and subscribe to this channel. I will cover the news as soon as they drop. I've already created a playlist that you can see right in front of you. This will have every relevant video related to news of this game, so definitely check that out to make sure you haven't missed anything. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you think about this game in the comment section below. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.